You're listening to the Patriot Nation Podcast.
All right, welcome into another edition of the Patriot Nation Podcast. As always, your guy Pat Lane here with my man Matt St. Jean. And Matt, the Patriots competed. I guess that's good, right? I don't know. I feel like after losing by 3 to the Bills, I should feel good about this game, and I just don't. And so it's like I don't know.
Yeah, it's strange because this game feels like it was almost 3 different games in one. In some of them I liked. Like it's if you liked the Patriots coaching staff, there are good things to take away. If you didn't like the Patriots coaching staff, there are things that you can take away. And I think you kind of end up in this middle ground where it's like, I don't know, like I have a lot of issues with some of the coaching today. I think it's also hard to look at a game where you start out 14-0 in Buffalo and hold Josh Allen to being on the field for 2 minutes in the first quarter as like that poorly coached. Like clearly they had a game plan they wanted to execute. They opened up the game and they executed it and they took a big lead. So it's a weird game. Another weird close loss in Buffalo too. There's been a lot of these in the post Brady era.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and it's just
they've played 6 games in Buffalo since Brady left, I think. 5 seasons plus the playoff game.
Yes.
And you've got the big playoff blowout. You've got the 2-score loss with the 2 kick returns. And every other game has been a 1-score game. Just Pats are 1-3 in those with some tough breaks.
Matter of fact, the one loss that I don't know if you heard this in the broadcast, the one loss that the Bills have at home in the last, I think they said 3 years. In the last 3 years, is that one loss to the Patriots in that crazy wind game where Mac Jones attempted 3 passes, and that's the one game the Bills have lost at home. And of course, the Patriots, go in and look. I mean, like you said, they start off as hard as you can start, right? They drive right down the field and kick, and score a touchdown in the first possession. The gorgeous deep ball throw from Drake May to Kayshon Boutte was a perfect pass, great catch, got inside, which was a great play. And then, as you say, they stop the Bills, and then they get the ball back at their 9-yard line, and they go on, a 10-minute drive that ends in a Ramondre Stevenson touchdown. And you're thinking, like, this looks great, right? They're rolling. Like, is this possible that that the Patriots are going to be this good, and so on and so forth? And and then the wheels just fell off after that. The wheels just came off, unfortunately, and they don't score again until the very end of the game when, and even that drive, you were like, what the hell's taking so long? They were down. I felt like they were on the goal line for 10 minutes. And
I never want to see any of that again.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah. No, it was, and I think we want to start with the good here because that's how the game went. I think what are the first things? So this team couldn't stay on the field on 3rd down last week against Arizona, and on the road in this environment against a very good, experienced defensive coach. You were able to convert a pair of 3rd and longs on each of the first 2 touchdown drives.
Yeah.
So your 3rd play of the game, your first set of down, you get to 3rd and 8, and May hits Henry, perfect anticipation throw coming out of a break.
As he's getting hit too.
Yeah, gorgeous. And then later on in the drive, the touchdown to Kayshon Boutte down the right side, which is one of his best throws to date, is also 3rd down. And then the next possession, there's a 3rd and long where you're going to May run where he picks it up. And then I believe the other was 3rd and 9 was a completion to Austin Hooper. And you end up cashing that one in too. So the execution there and defensively, you get off the field on a 3rd and long with Alex Austin breaking up a pass in between all of that. And, that's what we'd wanted to see, the opposite of what we got last week.
100%, and really, to start off as strong as they did, right? And again, involve the young receivers, not the rookie receivers, but at least involve the young receivers and make it look as though, Kayshon Boutte had a pretty good game today, right? He played pretty well today, I thought. And, of course, he catches that long touchdown pass, a gorgeous throw by May. And he just seemed, if you blitzed him, it was a problem. If you play man coverage on him, it's a problem because he will, find a lane and run. But if you play zone coverage on him, he'll make some plays. And so it's that type of stuff for me where I look at it and say, man, like we have a real shot at, like we look competent, right? Is how it looked, right? And not only did we look competent, but it was like, yeah, some of the guys that we wanted to see things from, those were the guys that were playing competent. And and it was like, this is great. This is all good stuff, right? And I thought the play calling too at the beginning was pretty good. And of course, not all play calling is going to be perfect, but I thought the play calling was pretty darn good. And so I was impressed with the way that they started off the game and played so well. And then
the wheels go on
from there.
Well, no, I think part of this Patriots game plan, I think it's the correct game plan, but the game plan was to make the game as fast as possible, slow down that,
Right.
keep Josh Allen off the field, keep the clock running. I think one of the issues they ran into is they kind of, when you do that, the goal is you're basically making it a smaller sample size of offensive possessions for each side, so that any one mistake, if you have a drive-ending mistake, it's one of 8 drives, one of 9 drives instead of one of 12 drives. It's
Correct.
a more impactful part of your day. And you want to do that when you're playing Josh Allen. Just thought that kind of, ended up working against them because the high variance stuff went in their favor early. You get a bunch of these 3rd and longs that you convert early. Your 3rd drive out there, you get nothing on 1st and 2nd down. There are incompletions, 3rd and 10. You get 9 yards and 2 feet on the throw, and now you're off the field. And then, your next possession, you're starting at your own 1-yard line. How's this for something? You have a 10-play drive. You take 6 minutes and 13 seconds off the clock. You don't get past your own 34-yard line.
It's crazy.
That's what that one was.
Yeah.
So you're taking all this time off the clock, but you're just, stuck at a 7-point lead for a lot of the second quarter there. And in some ways, that's where you end up losing the game because you have momentum and you have the opportunity to try to, keep Buffalo at arm's length. And instead, they're able to keep things close and even it up early in the second half. And then that's when things really fell apart.
Yeah, well, it's totally true. And, the hard thing is that you have mistakes from guys, all over the field. And look, Marte Mapu makes a nice play in the interception, although it was a terrible throw by Josh Allen. But he makes a nice play in the interception, but then doesn't have the wherewithal. Just go down. Just go down. You don't need to do anything. Just go down.
So I went back to some of the all-22 is up now, and I found that play because I was curious. What the hell is Mapu thinking trying to run this back?
Yeah.
I think I figured out what happened. The entire left side of the field there, he has so much room to run. He could have easily picked up 25, 30 yards, I think. The problem was that there was a running back who had run a route kind of behind the receiver down the sideline, and he's running full speed. Mapu has no idea he's there until he's about to take it out. He sees him coming. He tries to pull back and stop. The running back hits him, and then he just falls forward, and you're at the 1. And it's just, you got to have awareness of it. It's not you
Correct.
are responsible for what happens. If you're going to take the ball out of the end zone, you have to know where everyone is. But I think it was easy to see what he thought he was going to be able to get out of it.
Right. I think the biggest thing for me is the first thing you catch the ball like that in the end zone, the first thing you should do is look everywhere. Look around. If you don't think you have 25, 30 yards easy, just go down.
No, you have to know you have a convoy. You have to know everyone that's close to you and identify who's blocking them. And you didn't do
100%. Yep. And so, that's the frustrating part. And again, I mean, that changes the game. Like you say, that's a 10-play drive that they go on, and they can't get past the 35-yard line. And that they went for it on 4th and 1. That was when they went for it on 4th and 1, right? And ran that, fake punt to Del Pettis, which was great. And it was like, it was good to see that. And I was happy to see that, the aggressiveness and everything. The problem that I have, the real issue that I have with that, and then people were arguing that they should have gone for it the second time. You don't go for it the second time. I'm sorry, you just don't. You get an interception, which changes the game. Then you go for the fake punt, which gives you more momentum, and then you can't pick up a first down. I wouldn't go for it again a second time. Now, it's one thing if you're at midfield, you picked up 2 first downs or something like that. After that, fine, you can go for it in that situation. But I'm not going for it again right away. But the frustrating thing is that, like, man, if they had been able to capitalize on those mistakes, and unfortunately, that's what the Bills did, and that's what good teams do. When you make mistakes, good teams capitalize on your mistakes. And the Patriots did not do that, and the Bills did, right? The Patriots made a litany of mistakes in the second half, and the Bills took advantage of those mistakes, and that's how they won the game, right? And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, And look, some of the fumbles is fumble luck, and I know we'll get into some of the fumbles and how many fumbles there were in the second half, and the fact that the Bills recovered all of them except for one in the first half where the Patriots fumbled and recovered it. And it just, like, sometimes that's the way it goes. Sometimes that's luck. Sometimes it's hustle. Sometimes it's just like, it is what it is. But, like, man, if one or two of those goes the Patriots' way, maybe they win this game instead of losing. But, there's just no ifs, unfortunately, in football.
Well, I think you look at this, I think where you feel like you've really missed some opportunities here in the first half. I thought Drake May had some really excellent moments in this game. I thought he also had some real negatives.
Oh yeah.
Your third drive of the game, first play of it. Buffalo just scored a long touchdown run, quick drive. You got the opportunity to answer. You got Keyshawn Boutte wide open over the middle of the field. May throws a ball that just dies on him. Should have been a completion. Should have been a chunk play. Instead, it's an incompletion. You end up going 3 and out on that possession. The next drive, the one with the fake punt, a couple things here. One, the 3rd and 1, another instance where you run the ball in 3rd and short and cannot pick it up. Antonio Gibson fumbles on it too, which really, really rough there. You obviously get it after that with the Del Pettis play, but the 3rd and 4, they don't end up converting. It's a check down to Gibson on the left side, and on the initial TV copy, I thought Pop Douglas was wide open in the flat on the other side of the field, and he would have easily had the first if May ends up looking over there. I don't know why he's not. It might have just been a coverage thing, but you'd like to see him get to that, because then you're moving the chains. And this is one of the issues with playing this way, trying to play slow, playing the way this offense does, is that 1 or 2 plays like this will completely derail your day because you just don't have the ability to make up for it with big plays.
Right.
But that was 2 plays right there where their offense should have stayed on the field. And if you're able to add another 3, another 7 in the first half, that could really change the outcome of this game, change the way Buffalo plays. Instead, once they're able to keep it a 1-score game, they're able to keep the running game going for most of it, and that's where they did most of their damage.
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots. Look, I know the guys are hurt. I get it. I know the guys are hurt. Right. And unfortunately, Christian Barmore, which we haven't even talked about yet, but unfortunately, Christian Barmore, suffers a setback and has, symptoms again of blood clots, which is just horrifying. And you pray that he's all right, and out screw football. Like, you pray that he's just okay. But it's so frustrating to see that, like, and I know Juwan Bentley's hurt and Jabot Peppers was hurt in this game, but, like, Jabot Peppers was part of the problem last week, right? Like, you can't. It's not just the players. The run fits are horrendous. It's like every time they see a running play, it's like they've never seen a running play before. I just don't understand. I don't understand. And that's what's so frustrating about it is that, like, it's not the players. If we had players in the positions and they just got beat, whether it's they getting blocked up or whether it's, they're there, but they missed the tackle, whatever the case may be, if they're not making plays, like, that's fine. I can live with that because we can say, well, they don't have to play. They're not in the right positions. They're not making the right plays. They're doing nothing good, nothing defensively against the run. And that, to me, is players, but also a huge part of that is coaching. And that just, it's unacceptable to be at this stage of the season and to not understand how to stop the run. It's unacceptable. And to me, I don't know what else you can say other than DeMarcus Covington needs to go. Like, I don't know how else you can view what's happened on the defense and think like, we should keep him. He's been awful.
The thing that's tough is this. You're judging on a sample size of just one season of the way these guys have played, and it's entirely possible the linebacker play is these guys just all aren't that good, and you overrated them a little bit because they were playing next to Bentley. Now that Bentley's not there, these guys just don't know what to do, and if you get different players, that'll fix the issue.
It's fair.
It's very possible, but also, it's a results business. If you're not delivering the results, things are going to change, whether or not you think it's there.
Yeah.
We really haven't seen a lot of improvement from the linebacker core. James Cook for the Bills averaged like 9.1 yards per carry. 11 carries, 100 yards. So that 46-yard touchdown in there.
Yeah.
You just can't be giving that up on a day like today. And I will say, it's tough. I don't want to complain about the defense too much because you go to Buffalo, an offense that has been one of the best, maybe the best in the NFL lately. Mm-hmm. Like, these guys have been red hot.
Yeah.
And they're playing at home. They have momentum. You do not have momentum. You have not played well. You're 30th ranked defense in the league, or 31st, or whatever metric you want to use. You hold them to 17 points, and you get an interception, and you force 2 fumbles and all that. Like, I think there's a lot to like about the defensive performance. I think from a game plan perspective, this might be the best game plan that they have put together for anyone yet this year.
Yeah,
the fact that they were able to do this essentially with no pass rush. You get 1 sack and 2 quarterback hits today, and both quarterback hits for Jeremiah Farms.
Kind of felt like they weren't even trying to rush the passer at points.
And some of that, I think, you're trying to contain Allen. But you're not, like, you weren't really generating a whole lot there. So, like, it's a weird spot where I do feel like the defense did play really well for most of the game, but when they broke, it's the long touchdown run, the first drive of the second half where you couldn't get the stops you needed to, and then that last couple of drives of the game there where, one of them you get the stop, but you allow a little bit more than you want before you get it, and then the final drive of the game, the game's basically over, but when you have a chance if you can get 3 stops, you get the ball back, and your offense is going to have a chance to tie it, and you go up a first down on the first carry.
Yeah.
That's what's tough right there. Like, it's not, I thought the defense was generally very good today. It just folded at the worst moments and in the worst ways a couple times. And if you told me before this game that you're going to go up to Buffalo and hold Buffalo's offense to 17 points, I'd say I think we actually have a chance at winning this game. And they did. I think it's really tough to go to Buffalo, outgain them, hold their offense to 17 points, and then lose. It kind of feels like the Colts game in some ways. This is a game, and you really should win. Looking at a lot of the numbers, and frustrating to not come away with a win.
I mean, there's nothing else to say. Like, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that part of it, right? Like, they did play okay at times, but you need more. You're expecting more from them. And sometimes you ask, like, is that fair? Is that something that, should we hold them to that standard if I don't know. But then again, you look at it and say, well, yeah, but like, look at the Panthers today. Won 36-30.
Yeah.
Against a team that smoked you last week. The Panthers were a joke. They were the laughing stock of the league last year. They were the laughing stock of the league for the first half of the year this year. They have a rookie head coach, right? They have a second-year quarterback. They didn't even have their first-round pick this year. And yet, they're out there performing and getting better, and you're seeing the growth from that team.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I did think that the coaching, and you pointed it out, which I thought you pointed it out very well, in the fact that, like, the game plan was significantly better today, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's great. That's good. That's a good thing for the Patriots. But, you still want to see more, right? You want to see them kind of take that next step and get to a close game like they had today and win that game, as opposed to, and really, was it that close? Like, was it a close game? I know they lost by 3, but like that second half, they were outmatched, and we knew they were going to be outmatched anyways. But like that second half, they made a billion mistakes. I thought that defensively, they just completely fell apart. And then offensively, they didn't have much out there. And, you fell kind of into that same trap of like undisciplined and making mistakes. And, those are those moments when you feel like you really need something and you didn't get it.
It was because it's like the reason you lost this game. The reason that Buffalo went ahead in the second half had nothing to do with the defense. It had everything to do with the offense turning the ball over 3 straight times.
Yep.
But also, like, and they did. The defense did hold tough. You fumble it on your first possession of the half, and the defense holds them to a field goal, a long field goal at that.
Right.
So good job there. But I think it's tough when it's like, okay, after the pick, you're giving up a 40-yard drive. So you get stops, you get off the field, but it eats up 6 minutes of the game, and you're pinned deep in your own territory after it, which was tough. I thought they lost the field position battle pretty badly in this game. New England's average starting field position was the 22. Buffalo's was the 32. I don't know how much that changes if Mapu stays in the end zone and that goes from the 1 to the 20-yard line. Like that might be almost all of the difference there.
Yeah.
But
and that's a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah, which is like then it's not really then the stats might not actually be telling you that much about how the game actually went down. But the game swung on 2 plays in the second half. A Ramondre Stevenson fumble and the play of the game, which that debacle on the little screen pass, whatever, swing pass, lateral toss play, whatever we want to call it. Do we want to get into that after the break?
Yeah, let's get into the break and let's get into it because I had certain people, certain angry producers in the Boston area upset at me, very, very upset at me over that play. But we'll talk about it. Let's get into our first break and then we'll go from there. All right, so our first break, of course, is about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000. That's right, 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Now you're going to make your holidays bigger and brighter with Prize Picks, the best place to get real money action while watching your favorite sports. They now, they're giving away 2 free picks in December, and they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pixmas, of course. Now, they also offer weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday every Tuesday. Prize Picks discounts select players' projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineup. For me personally, this week, I have a chance. I have a chance. This week. I picked Drake May for more than 26.5 rushing yards, which he hit with 31 rushing yards. And I have Baker Mayfield for more than 237.5 passing yards. And right now, midway through the third quarter, he has 168. So we're getting there. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. There's a chance, ladies and gentlemen. There's a chance. What you're going to do to get in on the action, you're going to download the app Prize Picks. You're going to put in the promo code CLNS. And when you put in your first $5 lineup, you are going to get $50 free. Can't beat that instantly. Now, here's the thing. You don't have to win your first $5 lineup. You just have to play it. So again, download the Prize Picks app, put in the promo code CLNS. When you play your first $5 lineup, again, don't have to win it. Just play it. When you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 instantly. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. So the play that turned the game. The fumble 6, which is credited to Drake May. Fairly or unfairly, I don't know. I guess there's an argument to be made either way, but the Patriots call a swing pass, which they've called many times this year, and for some reason, Drake May throws it behind him as a lateral instead of a forward pass. Ramondre Stevenson drops the ball. I will say it was a pretty hard fastball pass in the cold from 5 yards away as he's getting hit. I don't necessarily blame him for dropping it. He's got to catch it. You have to understand that you have to catch that ball. I get that, right? But at the same time, I also understand that, like, he's, you're not going to catch every single pass. Demontre Jacobs, who I thought was really good in the running game today, just was atrocious in the pass game, and this was, one of the worst plays he had in the pass game. And all of it combines to, they fumble and it's recovered in the end zone by the Bills for a touchdown. And it was a bad call. It was a bad decision by May. It was a bad play by Ramondre Stevenson. And it was a bad play by Demontre Jacobs. So it was just about as bad as it can be all the way around. Not just a little bit, like everyone all the way around. It was real bad.
Yeah, I think if we're assigning blame on this one, I'm putting almost all of it on Ramondre Stevenson. It's the ball hits you in the hands. You gotta catch it. To me, it's that simple. I think there are other factors that deserve conversation here, but like, if the ball hits you in the hands, you got to catch it. I think we can talk about whether or not it should have been a backwards pass, and what goes into that. And Demontre Jacobs whiffing on a block and play call and all that, but like, this really isn't all that different from like a toss play that you'd run in this area of the field. That's not the easiest catch to make in that spot, just given where the ball came in, but you get both hands on it. So in that area of the field, the reason you're being paid is to catch the ball. That's, what is it? The words of Don Draper, that's what the money is for.
Right.
You got to do it. So I think that's tough. I didn't, I have to see the wide angle to really get an idea. It wouldn't really have made a difference in the play, but I didn't love what appeared to be a lack of hustle from Patriots players trying to get on the ball after it was loose.
Right.
You got to it's a loose football in your own end zone. Somebody should be running to jump on that just in case. You don't even have to know what happened. Somebody should be like, I want to get this just in case.
And it's a 5-point difference, right? I mean, like, it might still be a safety, but it's a 5-point difference.
Exactly. And, so that was tough. That said, May could have definitely delivered a better ball there. Jacobs totally whiffed. I suspect that when we see the video, the All-22 of that, it's going to show that he probably could have run quite a ways on that had he caught it, and Jacobs not whiffed on the block. And that's going to be a real sliding doors moment in this game of what happens, because that is your ball game. That is the Bills take a 3-point lead. Your defense gets a stop. After that, you're deep in your own territory. You're on the road, fourth quarter. this is your opportunity to go drive down the field and put points on the board.
Yeah.
And it essentially ends the game right there. It kind of felt like, they do get back into it, but big difference between a 1-point game and a 2-point game. Schematically, at that point, the way you're going to call plays, the level of execution that is required from your players to overcome it, and they just didn't have that today. They really haven't had it all season.
No, and again, listen, I respect you saying it was all on Mondre, or the majority of it's on Mondre, and that's fine. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I do think that Drake should have at least looked before he threw the ball and seen that Ramondre was going to get absolutely murdered, and also realized that it was going to be backwards, right? Because that's a situation where I would have loved for him to stop for a second and either just throw it 10 yards over Ramondre's head or just throw it in the dirt.
Yeah. So it's a screen pass there. So he doesn't have another option, and I do think it's a scenario where he has to throw it right away. Otherwise, you're going to get an offensive pass interference penalty too, because the guy I have the clip up right now because I was curious. The guys are already blocking down the field the second it's released, so you have to make a very fast decision there.
100%. 100%. I will see your point, and I will raise you Super Bowl 49. Okay? I will raise you Super Bowl 49. And you may not remember it, and maybe you won't because it doesn't count, but that's fine. I'm sure you remember it, Matt, though, because Tom Brady was throwing a screen pass out to Shane Vereen.
Is this the up and over?
And he threw it up and over. And you know what happened before he threw it up and over? He double clutched the ball and then threw it up and over because he didn't have a choice, because the Seahawks played it well and were in the way. And so now what happened? What happens is that Danny Amendola gets called for pass interference. Why does he get called for pass interference? Because Brady had to take that extra second to throw the ball. If he doesn't do that, however, it's a pick six. And so he does that because the alternative is a complete and utter disaster. Right. And so, and listen, he's a rookie quarterback, and I'm not saying it's all on him. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that part of it, at least, to ignore the fact that some of that isn't on Drake May, that some of that responsibility falls on Drake May, to me isn't fair. It's not fair.
I'm looking at this because I'm rewatching it right now because I was really trying to figure out what's going on. I don't think May has any other option on this play. I think the difference here is this. We're and obviously forgetting that we're comparing Tom Brady, 14 years into his career and all that. This is fully designed. There's only one spot the ball can go, and it has to go at a certain time in the play. That's all there is to it. May never even looks at the tackle to see if Jacobs has executed his block. And this is, to me, this is where the do your job part of it comes in. May does his job. The tackle doesn't. And if you're in a spot where you're checking to see if somebody else is doing their job before you're executing yours, then you might end up in an even worse spot. Like if he's trying to throw it up and over, it's going to be a way worse play. What I see, here's the thing. Looking at the design of this, I think there's really only two possibilities. One, this is designed to be backwards. Or two, Ramondre really messes up where the landmark he is supposed to get to on this play. I kind of think it's just designed to be backwards. I think they see this as essentially a toss play, like a toss play screen hybrid. It's just that, for some reason, Ramondre takes his sweet time looking back to see when the ball is going to be thrown, even though the ball has to come out immediately. So he's just getting his helmet around as the ball comes in. This is, I don't know, this is a 10-foot pitch and catch to a guy who's caught 1 million footballs in his lifetime. And then I was curious about the other part too. The ball is just sitting there in the end zone, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Patriots looking at it. Nobody doing more than a half jog towards the ball, just sitting in the end zone. That I don't like.
Yeah. Well, listen, and all of that might be true. All of that might be true. If let me tell you something right now. If that was an intentional called backward pass at the 8-yard line, AVP shouldn't even make the trip home from Buffalo. Just leave him there. Just leave him there.
I just don't know. I think it's a toss.
I don't care. Then make it a toss. That's not a toss play. That's a throw. That is you relying on your tackle, who sucks, by the way, and everyone in the world knows that he sucks. You're relying on your tackle to make a cut block, and you're throwing out a pass. That's not a toss play. That's like a legitimate. It is the same thing, but it's not though. It is the same thing, but it's not.
The ball's gonna come in a little bit harder. So like it is a harder catch, but like I don't know, man. If you're paid any amount to play professionally in the NFL, you should be able to catch that ball.
Yeah, maybe. My point is that a lot of bad things can happen if you're throwing a backwards pass inside your 10-yard line. That to me is insane. I don't know why you would ever attempt that, especially with a crap offensive line. And
he is dropping that regardless of what happens with DeMontre Jacobs there.
And I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not saying that he's not. You don't think that part of it though? You don't think that part of it is that he's got a guy in his face?
Well, that's what the money is for. You're gonna have a guy in your face sometimes.
Yeah, I get it. But again, my issue is that, and I'm not excluding Ramondre from blame. I'm not. Right? Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not excluding Ramondre from blame. All I'm saying is that it's not 100% Ramondre Stevenson.
No, it's like I give like 70 to him, 20 to Jacobs, 10 to May. If I'm portioning out the blame.
I'd give it a little bit more than that, but that's fine. And we can disagree about things, and that's okay. And we can be civilized about it because we're actual human beings. Unlike certain people on Twitter who we won't mention, but it's like, but the thing is that, regardless of the situation, I just felt like we have this situation for me, at least, that I'm looking at saying, man, we had an opportunity and you just feel like you blow it. Right. And that loses the game, right? That loses the game for you. And, Ramondre is a guy that, regardless of whether I think Drake May should have made a better play or whether the play call was bad or whatever the case may be, to me, I don't know, man. He's a guy that they extended, and I think that the Patriots, and we've talked about this, and I feel like I hate going on ad nauseum about it, but I feel like the Patriots made a concerted effort to reward their guys this offseason. And then it's blown up in their face over and over and over again. Obviously, the Christian Barmore situation is outside of their control. I think Kyle Duggar has had a craptastic year for the most part. He's played okay at times. He had a fine game today, I thought. Not in the running game because everyone starts on the running game, but I think he had a fine game in coverage so far. But Mike Onwenu has regressed for the most part. He looked actually good. It looked good in the run game today. We had to watch the film, of course, but I thought on the right side it was significantly better in the run game today for sure.
I think he's generally been better in the second half of the season. I think now that they've said you're a guard, he's kind of gotten generally better over the course of the season. Right. The whole rewarding their guys stuff, it's been very hit or miss. I will say, Kyle Duggar missed a tackle on the long James Cook touchdown run. I did think that outside of that, he had a good day today. I thought it's tough to be involved in maybe one of the worst plays your defense has and say you had a good day, but I thought the rest of it was good, which was good. So, also, I do want to go back to the fumble real quick because I do think there's another angle of this we didn't talk about.
Yeah.
This is after Ramondre Stevenson fumbles. Antonio Gibson is your passing back. Now they run this with both players on the field. So Gibson is kind of a lead blocker here. And I wonder if this is just the way the play is designed. So if you're going to run this play, it has to be these people because those are the ones that have practiced it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to run this play, though, I think I want Gibson being the one catching the ball. He's the better receiver of the two. And
he's the better open field runner too.
Yeah, exactly. Quicker in space. I'd rather have it be that way. So I do have to say with all of this, asking Ramondre Stevenson to make this play after he fumbled,
Yeah.
that much that recently, I think um, that is where you question the coaching staff a little bit. I was surprised we saw Ramondre back in the game at all after that, especially with Terrell Jennings signed to the roster now, and you
Yeah,
got
I just
Jermichael Hasty there,
yeah.
Hasty was out today, wasn't he?
I think Hasty was out,
Yeah, so Terrell Jennings, who
but
looked good in
Jennings
the
was in.
preseason. I
Well,
liked
and that's,
Jennings. I would
you
have
know,
just
you
given him
hear
some
all
carries.
this stuff about, oh, we're gonna, the young guys. Let's see what the young guys can do. And then it's like, oh, Ramondre fumbles for a 97th time this year. Nah, no big deal. Let's try to back out there again. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. It's very frustrating, and unfortunately for the Patriots, like it's just it's more of the same coming. You feel like nothing's changed, and and here we are. So I don't know. I'm just
Yeah.
I'm over it right now, and I think too, like when you look at and by the way, like I think AVP has been the best of the coaches,
Mhm.
but the second half was awful today. I mean, you couldn't stop a blitz. The Bills were blitzing you, and you couldn't even block it. I mean, at times they were blitzing six guys. They were rushing six guys, and four of them were in rushing Drake May. It's like, who were the five guys blocking? They're blocking two guys.
Yeah.
It's just
When I
like it was insane.
my my biggest issue with that too, and this is something that that has been talked about earlier this season, like in this style of offense, the way they handle the blitz is different from the way you would do it under the old system that was used. The way you do it in the old system is that if there is a blitz, you're going to have what they call slight adjustments. So receivers will, when they see that there is a blitz, they're going to adjust their route. It's that simple to
Yeah,
something quicker so that the quarterback can hit them. That's something Brady made a lot of money off of being on the
sure
same
did.
page with his guys on with his slot receivers, his tight ends on that stuff.
Yeah,
This offense doesn't have that. It just has kind of a if there's a blitz, you throw this route type of thing. And that last sequence in the red zone, the Bills blitzed 4 or 5 times, and it didn't feel like they had a good answer. And it could be that May is not getting to it. It might not be an offense designed thing, but I want to rewatch it and see what's going on with that because if you're inside the 5-yard line, and the other team's bringing a zero blitz at you, and you don't have some kind of schematic answer for that, I have a big problem with that.
right.
Um, Especially, you're on the road against a defense that is going to be complex. You're down by 2 scores. You need a play. Like, what was egregious to me in that final sequence where it takes them 15 million plays to get into the end zone is that I don't think a single one of those throws until the touchdown ended up going anywhere near the middle of the field.
Yeah,
Buffalo showing you a blitz on every single play. Where are the slant routes? Where are the drag routes? Where are the simple man beater pick plays to get someone open over the middle of the field? I
yeah.
don't understand that at all.
That's totally true. It's totally true, and that's the frustrating part for me. By the way, Boss GMs mentions running back fumble clauses. That'd be really interesting to throw that in a contract. I can't imagine a running back would ever agree to that, but
No.
I love the idea of that. I'm sure that then you'd have to do the other side of it to say, we'll give you, a bonus for touchdowns and stuff like that. But I mean, that's and Barry, by the way, says that Drake was the only reason the game was close. He's right. But he also had
Both
some
ways.
really bad mistakes in the second half, right? I mean, it's and unfortunately, and not all of it's on him, right? Not all of it's on him, but unfortunately, he made some rookie mistakes, and he's a rookie, so like those things happen, right? And it's not the end of the world, but that's you can't. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Drake May played a perfect game. Right? I'm just not going to do that. I'm sorry, like he didn't. And and so was it bad? No, absolutely not. I thought he played well, but if he had played better, the Patriots probably would have won. And
It was
unfortunately, he didn't. That's the way it goes.
it was peaks and valleys with him
Yep.
today. And yeah, it's tough. The interception, it's, there's no defensive pass interference on it. Austin Hooper trips over a guy. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And I do think this is another route spacing issue. The play that they're calling is one where you have an outside receiver who's going to run a post, and the tight end is going to run the corner, and they're going to intersect at roughly the same point, creating a tough, that's going to be right around the goal line.
Yep.
Creating a spot that the defense has to cover, and they have to figure out, who's covering who after the break and everything. It puts them in conflict. I love the call where it is. The problem is the guys don't run it at the right depth. So Bourne and Hooper are basically running into one another, and Bourne has to stop to let Hooper through on the corner route.
Yeah.
And in that transition is where, now the Bills guys are all crossed up, and then Hooper's just tripping over a guy because nobody knows what's going on, and legs get tangled. I will say, Bourne does set a little bit of a pick there, and one of the Bills players just launches himself into him. I'm just gonna file that in that little file we've been keeping of guy hits a Patriots player up high and there's no flag for it. I feel like we've been having this for the last
It's only
seasons.
happened 400 times in the last 2 years.
Yeah, but even if Hooper stays up, it's probably a pick because May underthrows this by about 10 yards. I don't really know, where he's going with that one.
Yeah. No, it just, and unfortunately, it's just a bad throw, right? It's just a bad throw. And that happens. Listen, that's going to happen, right? He's thrown a pick in the last 7 straight games. And some of those picks, right? You had the what's it called? The one to Henry at the end zone, right? The one Henry in the goal line against the Colts, which isn't on him. You had the one to Booty last week, which of course isn't on him. So you have some interceptions that aren't on him 100%, and you have some that are. And it's like he's a rookie quarterback. I don't mind him taking some shots and making some bad throws. I do think that the cold impacted him in the second half. Either that or he was banged up because he clearly wasn't the same guy in the second half as he was in the first half.
His accuracy was a little off.
Maybe I don't know, right? Maybe the defense of the Bills, made some adjustments to what the Patriots are doing. The Patriots didn't make any adjustments. I don't know the answer to that question, but I will just say to you, he didn't look like the same player in the second half, and so we'll see. But that's kind of how I saw it. But anyways,
and he had. I think this is the tough thing. May had 4 or 5 big bad plays. I think the pick, he misses the throw, missed throw to Booty. I'm sure we're gonna come back to it after the next break, but he misses Henry and a sequence there in the fourth quarter that I think is going to get a lot of press here.
Yep.
There's a delay of game in that sequence as well.
It's real bad.
On him.
Real bad.
Yeah. He had his issues. And that's the thing. If they're at the spot where they're in games because May plays well and then they're losing them because he makes some rookie mistakes, I don't mind that. That's fine. You can grow and develop out of that. I think big picture, my issue is that they haven't been in games even when he does this. It should be the floor around him should be a little bit higher, but that is what it is. Should I talk about game time? Then we'll talk about the punt there in the middle of the fourth quarter.
Yes, 100%. Let's do that.
All right, let me talk to you guys about game time here, and it is almost Christmas. We are 3 days away. If you are looking right now for a last-second Christmas gift, I would turn to Game Time. If I were you, Game Time picks makes getting tickets for anything, sporting events, concerts, whatever you want to go to with your family, your loved ones, makes it so much easier. So, I highly recommend it. I've used it myself. You can just, right this second, go into the Game Time app, go look for whatever sporting event you're looking for. Let's say you're a college football fan. You want to see if you can get some tickets to the college football playoff on New Year's. You can go do that. If you're looking for, one of these last few Patriots games as a gift for someone in your family, you can do that. If you're a basketball fan, if you're a hockey fan, it's winter. It's the season for that. You can go find that You're going to go into the app. You're going to hit Game Time Picks. You're going to hit all-in pricing. You hit those two things. You know what's going to happen? It's going to filter out the fluff. It's just going to show you the cheapest seats, the best value seats in the whole arena. And the price you see is the price you're going to pay. You click on the ones that look interesting to you. It's going to show you the view from that section. And Game Time has the lowest price guarantee, or they're going to pay 110% of the difference. It's simple. It's easy. They're going to deliver it right to you. So you can go do this at 11 p.m. Christmas Eve, and in the morning have your tickets to give to whoever you're seeing. Can't recommend it enough personally. I've used it quite a bit. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Should we?
Yeah.
Do you want me to walk you through? I have the game up, like the charting up. Do you want me to walk you through this whole sequence and what happens?
Let's do it. That's
Okay.
actually a good way to do it. I like that.
Yeah. So we'll set the scene here. Patriots down 24-14. This is their first possession after the fumble into their own end zone for a Bills touchdown. They pick up, your first down. You get to just over midfield. Actually, no, not quite. You get to exactly to midfield. You get to the 50-yard line. You have a 3rd and 1. At the 50. They line up in big personnel. You run a play that is a handoff to Kendrick Bourne, which I actually really liked.
It's going to work.
Play design for that situation.
Yep.
Delay of game. You don't get the snap off on time. You're going back 5 yards. Now it's 3rd and 6. In the game log, it goes in as 3rd and 5. That's how close they were on 3rd and 1. And you get Hunter Henry open on a corner route. May overthrows him. Now it is 4th and 5 at your own 46-yard line, down 10 points, and there's 8:33 left in the game. And the Patriots decide to punt there. So I guess I'll ask you, what was your initial reaction when they decided to punt?
I believe my exact tweet was, punting in this situation is a fireable offense. Them even considering punting in that spot, down 10 with 8.5 minutes left at the 45-yard line. What are we even doing? What are we even doing that we would even consider doing something that stupid? I don't understand it, because the Bills are the Bills. The Patriots haven't been able to stop them at all. This entire drive, this entire second half, they haven't been able to stop them. And it was a situation where I thought, at least, and someone said it too, and I forget who it was that said it, but I kind of had that same feeling. Was like, it felt more of, if we don't get it, the Bills are going to score another touchdown, and we're going to, and we're going to get blown out in this game, as opposed to punting and, saying, well, maybe we can stop them, and maybe we'll score again. We're not going to win, but so what? We won't lose by 25. And it's just like, that's just absolute garbage. Just absolute garbage. And I absolutely hated it. It was cowardly, and it was just something that just should never happen. That just should never have happened in that situation.
See, I find it interesting here, because I know obviously you feel very strongly about this. Watching the game, I actually didn't bat an eye at them punting. It wasn't like the logical decision necessarily, but it was like, okay, yeah, to me it was like, oh yeah, I see why. Like, it was like, yeah, that's just and I was curious about it, so I looked up the 4th down decision bot, what it said here, especially because typically in these situations, everybody makes fun of the analytics because they are more aggressive than most coaches will be.
Right.
The analytics had this as a toss-up. They did not have a recommendation in either direction, whether you should go for it or if you should punt, which I thought was because I expected it to say definitely go for it once I kind of sat back and thought about it a little bit. But then, what I do think is kind of interesting here You said they hadn't gotten a stop in the second half. They forced the Bills to punt on the possession before that. They held them to just 10 yards on the drive before and forced the field goal. It was really the only big drive the Bills had in the second half at that point was the first one to open the half. And I think an important thing to note here, the last Bills possession had ended on a throw where Josh Allen
Had hurt his hand.
didn't throw the ball. He looked hurt. Trubisky's warming up on the sideline. I think if this is 4th and 3, I'm going to be very upset if they're not going for it in this spot. The fact that it is 4th and 5, 4th and 6, and like you think the other quarterback is hurt and you can pin them deep, I don't mind it as much. I mind a lot more the fact that there's a delay of game on a 3rd and 1 in a situation that big. I think, to me, that is the much more consequential part of this. Once you're in a spot where you either have to convert a 4th and 6 or get the ball back,
Well, and that's
you
that's
put yourself
fair.
in a bad spot.
That's a fair point. And the question is, and of course we don't know the answer to that, and I guess we'll have to take a look at the film if we watch the film. How late were they breaking that huddle?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Did they break the huddle with plenty of time and they just took a while to get lined up? Or do is it a situation where they didn't get the play in time? And because they didn't get the play in time, they weren't ready to go. But for me, at least, you have to understand this is how long it's going to take to run this play. Right? And if it's going to take this long to run a play, and we don't have that much time, just call the damn timeout. Just call the timeout.
And that is I hate using timeouts and things like this in the second half because you don't want it later. But I actually do, especially because in this spot you have this. You still obviously have the 2-minute warning, so that you can keep as your 4th timeout essentially to get them off the field if you need to. And I just, from an operational perspective, this goes to Alex Van Pelt. This goes to Drake May. What's going on? How did we get here? This is a big spot in the game.
Yep.
The play call isn't that complicated. What's going on? Why can't we get this executed the way we need to?
Yeah.
I think that is inexcusable to me. And then I think to kind of pair with that, you do end up getting a stop. I think you give up 1 first down, maybe 2 first downs on you have 1 first down to Buffalo after that. And then
it was I think it was about a 4-minute drive though, which again isn't a super long drive, but it was a 4-minute drive, and so you don't get the ball back until there's 4.5 minutes left to go in the game, and so if that's the case, then you run a 13-play drive that takes 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes and 15 seconds, and now there's a minute and 10 seconds left, or a minute and 20 seconds left, and you have to kick an onside kick, which I disagreed with the onside kick, but I understand why they did it. I just felt like, for me, I would have kicked deep because I felt like that was a situation where you could have, if you stop them, which you had to stop them anyways, if you stop them, you get better field position on a punt, right? You're not getting the ball back regardless. I think there's been, 1 onside kick recovery since they changed the rules.
They said they were 3 for 46 this year, is the stat they showed. Yeah.
So
what I will say
Yeah.
What I will say is this, for that last sequence, and then I want to come back to the drive. I don't mind the onside kick there for a very specific reason, which is that it puts Buffalo kind of right on the edge of field goal range. And it puts them into no man's land. Fair. So there's a couple things that can happen. One, if they go for the field goal, I don't really care that much if they hit it because you still need to score either way. Obviously, touchdowns are more difficult than a field goal, but I still don't hate that. If they go for it, you have the opportunity to get the ball in really good field position there on 4th down. And if they miss a field goal, you have the opportunity to get the ball with really good field position.
That's a fair point.
So those are things I don't hate, especially in cold conditions like this. The field goal is no guarantee, but going back to the possession, there was just no urgency. You're down by 10 points. There's 4.5 minutes left in the ball game. It takes you 3:16 to score. Glad they got the touchdown, but like just going through this too. You have a penalty from Montre Jacobs. I believe it was his second false start of the game that you start with. And then as a theme on this drive, defensive pass interference on the Bills.
Yeah.
You run the ball. You have a short pass underneath. You run it again. That sets up 4th and 1. Positive here. They use the QB run game stuff on 4th and 1. Love that. Don't love that it takes public calling them out to do it.
Right.
If you were going to wait the whole season because you didn't want May to get hurt, then why are you breaking it out the week after you get called out publicly? Stick
Correct.
to your guns. Either you're doing it or you're not. But anyway,
Yeah.
they do it. It
Yeah.
works. May picks up a run. So like it takes you a significant chunk of time here comes off the clock, getting from your own 25 to the Buffalo 42.
Well,
Like that 2 minutes comes off the clock there. Like that's where most of it goes because you run the ball like 3 times with a couple underneath passes in that sequence. And I don't see the urgency in the play calling. You need chunk plays there because you need 2 scores. You need to score before the 2-minute warning.
I mean, listen, you're first and goal at the Buffalo 8 with 2:26 left to go in the game. You're first and goal at the Buffalo 4 with 2:26 left to go in the game. And then it takes you a minute and 10 seconds to get in to the end zone. From that moment. That's just unacceptable. That can't happen. You know, because if you score there, now you have 4 timeouts. So when they pick up that, now, first of all, you're kicking deep. With 2.5 minutes left to go in the game, you're kicking deep. Right? I think. Probably at least. That's what I would.
No, I would still onside kick there.
Okay, so say you onside kick it and say the same exact thing happens that happened then. They pick it up on first down. All right, you call a timeout. You still have 3 timeouts in the back. Mm-hmm. Right? Now you got to stop the run, which they weren't able to do. You would have lost anyways, right? Because they didn't stop the run. But you're in a much better situation. Yeah. And you at least have a chance, right? And I think that, that's one of those situations. And, Tony mentioned, Douglas's dropped TD. I can't believe they overturned that, to be completely honest with you. I didn't see it. I mean, I guess it hits the ground, but like, I don't know.
To hit the ground if you have control.
Yeah, it didn't seem clear to me that, I don't know. It didn't seem clear to me that the ball really hit the ground. Or I'm sorry, that he lost possession of the ball. The ball definitely hit the ground. It didn't seem clear to me that he lost possession of the ball when it hit the ground. But that's just me.
I'm right there with you.
Well, anyways,
I look at the sequence. Like just the number of errors in this sequence, to me, you've got the first play of it, the goal line sequence. You get incredibly lucky because once again, you're going to get another delay of game, except the Bills anticipate that you're going to snap the ball and run across the line.
Yeah.
So it's an encroachment. I still think they probably should have gotten delay of game because I thought the clock ran out before he came across the line, but you get the benefit of the doubt there. So that's when the ball goes from the 8 to the 4, incompletion, 3 in a row. But the Bills bail you out by committing defensive pass interference. So now you're at the 1. You try to run the ball from the 1 and you lose 3 yards again. Short yardage and you can't pick it up. Yeah. And it's not close. Because there's 2:14 left when you run the ball. Now the ball goes down. Now the clock goes down to the 2-minute warning, which I think was a really tough moment in the sequence. You really want to score on the other side of the 2-minute, so you have that extra timeout in your bag when you're trying to get a stop. So I did not love the run call there. All 3 of the passes before it were to the right side and outside, the numbers too. So I didn't get that. But now it's 2 minutes left to go. Second goal from the 4. Another incompletion. Which this one I feel like the second one was one where Pop Douglas probably should have caught the ball, but he doesn't. But then there's pass interference on it anyway. Douglas, you got 2 receivers in the same spot, this was a play where the Bills blitzed, and you've got 2 receivers in the same spot outside the numbers.
Yeah,
what are we doing?
Sense.
Thank you, Kyer Elam, for another pass interference. Then you actually have one good answer for the rush by rolling him out of the pocket. But the throws I guess just not quite high enough. Douglas can't bring it in, haul it in. And then again, you don't have an answer for the rush, and you get sacked. And then that play is 146 left when May gets sacked, which I didn't realize he fumbled on the sack
He did, yeah.
and recovered. So
He did
thank
recover,
God
but he
for
did
that.
fumble, yeah.
So then your next play, you snap that with 146 left. The next time you snap the ball, so with 113 left, and you're trying to score from the 9, and you get it on 3rd and goal, but that's
Late.
one.
I
Yeah,
mean,
like
it's at that
I'm not gonna
point.
do math.
Yeah, at that point, the
This
game is so close to being over that
you're relying on you either need the onside kick or you need 3 quick run stuffs, which they did not get.
correct.
And I
Yeah.
did not like the play calling here one bit. I didn't like the answers that they had for the blitz, even though both was bringing it the entire time. I thought Alex Van Pelt had a really good game plan in general today. I thought this moment was maybe one of his worst of the season, to be honest. When you consider how late in the season we are, too, they should be
Yeah.
organized for something like that. They should have a plan. This is a division rival. You can't tell me you haven't scouted Buffalo well enough to know what's going to happen here. And anyway, you have a bad offensive line. You're on the road. The game's on the line against a good defensive coordinator. Of course, they're going to be blitzing you there.
Right. It's just it's frustrating. It's real frustrating, and unfortunately that's one of those things that happens, and you just think like, man, if there was just a way, that we could make this team more competent. I mean, unfortunately, they're just really not, and that's the frustrating part. And you're right. Like, you feel like they should be ready for it, and they're not. You feel like they should be more prepared for things, and they're not. And it just comes back to the same thing we keep talking about: the coaching staff and listen. Some of us, certainly the players, 100%. I don't know how much they're telling them, right? And are they coaching them up, and the players aren't listening? I don't know, right? Or the players don't have the work ethic? I don't know the answer to that question, right? But again, it's like a perfect example. We're watching Sunday Night Football, and we talked about this a little bit, and people have tweeted out and whatnot. But Jalen McMillan looks pretty good. Looks pretty good in Tampa Bay. Jalen McMillan played for Washington last year, the same college that Jalen Polk played for. Jalen Polk stinks. Jalen McMillan looks pretty good. The Patriots employ the wide receiver coach for the Washington Huskies. They employ that guy.
He was an offensive assistant for the Huskies, but yeah, he was.
If there's
staff working
anybody
with
that should know who is a better receiver, Jalen Polk or Jalen McMillan, it should be him. And yet, he didn't know any of that stuff. And that's the frustrating part, where it's like, man, like, how do you not help us out there? How do you draft the wrong guy when you have a coach from the staff that they played for? How do you do that? And that's the thing where it's like, you want to miss on Ladd McConkey. It's bad that you missed on Ladd McConkey, but like, it's worse that you took Jalen Polk over Jalen McMillan when you had a guy that was in the building with those two guys last year. It can't happen.
When Polk played 3 snaps today,
3.
Baker played
8,
1 target, which is a glorified throwaway, basically.
Yeah.
Those guys are just non-impact players, which, like, thankfully, Pop's okay, Bourne's okay. Those guys can be real receivers in this league. 3 good 3s and 4s right there. But yeah, they've swung and missed badly with those.
And it's just like, you can't draft. And listen, maybe Jalen Polk turns into a good player. I don't know, but like, I can't.
He is
at this point. At this point, I don't know how you can look at him and say he's going to turn into a good player. I just don't know how you can.
No, he's 87 yards on the season.
Right? Like, and he's been awful. He's been worse than that. Like, he's been, somehow it's been worse than that.
Yeah. Well, and like, the fact that he he started off the season okay too. First couple weeks of the season, we were like, all right, he can play. He wasn't necessarily getting the ball, but that was a Brissett thing. But he could play. And then the Miami and San Francisco games, those 2 catches he thought were catches that weren't, kind of seemed to be a turning point for him. And mentally, he just hasn't been there since. And so hopefully, it's all water under the bridge next year and things work out. But man, guys are not they're impact players for you, and not in a good way so far.
Yeah. Just
do you know how bad of a receiver you have to be to stand out in the draft history of the New England Patriots? Like, we are Polk's going to be like the least productive top 50 or first 2 round wide receiver picked by this team since like the 80s.
Which is insane, because
N'Keal Harry was bad and missed half of his first season and was more productive.
Yeah, it's wild. And so, listen, we'll see what ultimately happens with him. I do think that there's some hope that he can like resurrect something, because as Jared said, he has the yips. Like, he 100% has the yips. If he can figure it out mentally, like, maybe he can get there, but like also maybe not. And so it just doesn't look promising, put you that way.
You can't. It's too early to rule anything out, but you absolutely can't count on him being anything 100%. Other than a guy on your depth chart next year. Maybe not even that. Different player, different situation. But Pats drafted Duke Dawson in the 2nd round. I think they traded up for him too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they didn't trade up for Polk, but I think they traded up for Dawson. He was gone after training camp the next year, shipped out for a draft pick. Like, you play this poorly and everything is on the table for next year.
I 100% agree. 100% agree.
Yeah.
And, and I don't know. The hard thing is, you don't know whether it's the player, whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's a combination of both, right? Because he was a draftable player. He was a player that could be drafted. He was a guy that people liked enough that they thought, now maybe he wasn't a 2nd round pick, maybe he was a 3rd round pick, but it's not like he was a guy that, that sucked. Right? It was a guy that, like, okay, we think he can be productive and, whatever. And so maybe they reached on him, but like, nobody predicted this, right? And that's unfortunately where we're at with this. One thing that I do find very interesting that the coaching staff has done, some of their start-sit things have been extremely questionable. Questionable, right? Kendrick Bourne was a healthy scratch, right? Earlier in the season. I think against Chicago, actually, right? It was a healthy scratch against Chicago.
That makes sense, yeah.
And, he's one of their better receivers. Monte Mapu has been a healthy scratch for weeks. He's been a healthy scratch. And, like, he looked pretty damn good today. Now, he obviously had that bad play. But you could see that speed come out a little bit. So I just don't know, like, why are we healthy scratching guys that can be productive players? And somebody said it, and I don't know, I can't credit the person because I don't know who it was, but it might have even been Chatham. It doesn't matter. He was around the ball a lot today.
He had a forced fumble and an interception.
And a pass breakup. Right?
2 pass breakups. I think that includes the interception. So, yeah.
I guess, is that 2 pass breakups then? Okay, if that's the case. But either way, right?
He was listed with 2. So one of them, I think.
So one of them was the interception, sure. But like, a guy that's around the ball for a defense that doesn't get many turnovers, that's an important thing, right? Like, why are we not playing those players? Especially if you're Gerard Mayo sitting here saying, we want to take a look at the young guys, and then you're not playing the young guys. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And that's frustrating.
Yeah, it's tough. Mapu, I think, should be seeing more time, and he has his issues, but I want to see him play through. I liked him coming out of college as somebody who was a really good run defender who could grow as a pass defender. I thought today he struggled as a run defender, but was excellent against the pass. Like, that was his best spot. I know we've kind of talked about whether they should play him away from the ball or not, but I think some of the stuff you see today, it's like, do you ask him just to drop a little bit of weight maybe and play as a free safety? I don't know if he has the speed for it. but he has some ball instincts.
Yeah.
And maybe he can be a free safety that you can still rotate and play around with and move to different spots. The future of the safety position is totally in flux right now. I don't know what we're going to get there. But yeah, no, the start set decisions, healthy scratches have been very weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I speaking of the defensive backfield, different thing I want to talk about. Alex Austin, he had a good day today.
He did.
I'm impressed. It's not like the craziest Buffalo receiving core, and it's not like he's going to be tested next week against that Chargers receiving core either. But I think I'm kind of the mind right now for this secondary that I think I'd re-sign Jonathan Jones. I think he still has something left. I think he looked good today too. He's a good leader on the team. I think he's like worst case right now, still your fourth corner and a backup safety who can, play the old Miles Bryant role probably.
Right.
And I think Alex Austin has shown some stuff on the first third down that they got a stop on. His pass breakup on that was really good. I thought his foot speed's good. His ball skills were good. So I don't think they need to make any big moves there. I think for their corner room, I'd keep the top four there intact for next year. And, you might make some moves with the safeties. You might continue to add depth at corner, give yourself more options at the position. But, they have a group of corners right now that they can go play man coverage with for a while and play really well. So
Right.
it's the zone coverage where guys have struggled, and I think that's more their coverage players in the middle of the field. So I feel better about corner right now than I did a month ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't disagree with you on that. So we'll see.
A couple comments in here. John, I love John, friend of the show. John LeBrock says, honestly, they don't have the right two safeties for two high systems. I think they're in this weird spot where it feels like every safety on the roster is a strong safety.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
I don't know what you do with that, especially when Duggar hasn't played well, but he's been hurt. Peppers hasn't played well, and he's been hurt, and he's also got off-field stuff, but he still played better than Duggar.
Yep.
And Pettis has shown something, but he's been like a special teamer and tight end man coverage specialist. Like that's what he has done.
Right.
And then Schooler has played well in his role. I think Hawkins has played well in his role. Like the role players are all playing well. It's the high level guys.
It's the fact that they don't have any high level players, and Schooler is very good at spying the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Schooler's not a safety. You don't want him in coverage. You don't want him, really playing against the run. He's been very good at spying the quarterback, and that's a good thing. But that's a very this is the only thing he's good at, and that's okay, especially when we play people like Josh Allen and and other guys that can run around. But beyond that, it's I don't really want him out on defense outside of that.
I will say I think we have seen enough from him on defense that I would be very okay with them giving him more practice reps there next year and trying to improve him with some of those other things because even as a backup guy you can put out there, but he's fast and he is an excellent tackler. And he's got really good sense of where ball carriers are going with the ball, so he can he's not just good at the actual tackling part; he's good at the pursuit part of that too. And I don't think he does a poor job of taking on blocks either. He's aggressive. You have to be if you play on special teams. So right. I do think if he could give you anything as a coverage player at all, I think he'd be a guy who you could give real defensive snaps to, and that would be nice. I think you still want him to focus on special teams, but I think he's showing you enough that I want him to see what they have.
It's fair.
I don't know. The future at safety is so weird because Duggar, I think, is going to be here next year. I don't think you're going to move on from him. Peppers, I have no idea.
No clue.
But I do feel like you need a true free safety of some kind.
Yeah, and it's not Jalen Hawkins. I like Jalen Hawkins, but it's just not him.
He's a role player. He's backup. That's fine. He's a Duron Harmon. Probably a little bit worse than Duron.
No, Duron Harmon was more than a role player.
Yeah, Duron Harmon was a role player. He's a very, very, very good role player.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Played a lot. He had a big role. Jalen Hawkins has a small role.
Right.
Right. But like I think the issue is that they need a better free safety. But with how much you've paid them, you probably don't want Peppers and Duggar coming off the field. And you also want Mapu out there
Right.
because you drafted him and he's shown you some stuff.
Yeah.
And Del Pettis has also shown you some stuff. So you probably also want him out there at points. So it's like there's only so many safeties you can put on the field at a time. Like you're not usually playing with more than 2.
Right. Right.
Maybe 3.
Yeah.
I don't even know if this free safety class. Like I liked Deshaun Elliott as a free safety this year, and I think he's done well. He's a guy I would have liked over Hawkins, but they didn't make
Yep.
that move.
No, they did not. So yeah. All right. You got anything else?
I mean, I do think. Well, I'll mention this because I wrote about it in Pat's Pulpit today, and I'll ask you about it. Our poll question, one of our poll questions of the week. Yeah,
Okay.
we had 2, so I think they're both relevant here. One of them was which unit is the most concerning, and it was basically 65-35 defense to offense. Most people think the defense is the most concerning unit right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I could see that.
I also asked what percentage of you think that Gerard Mayo is the best option for this team in 2025?
I feel like that one was pretty low.
14%.
Yeah, not great.
Which is lower than I expected. Low. Like I thought it was going to be low, but I thought it was going to be 30s, not teens. So with those 2 pieces of information, like where are you on these 2 questions right now? And I think more importantly, how did this game shift how you feel?
I think the defense is definitely a bigger concern. And the biggest reason for me is because the defense should still be good, and they're not. And so I think that's a problem for the Patriots because the defense should be better, and you're just not getting enough out of the defense. I think the Gerard Mayo thing, you could look at this game and say, well, Gerard Mayo may have saved his job with what he did. But I don't know how accurate that is. I don't know if he really has saved his job with what he did today. They played hard for him, and that's good. They came out and they played hard and they competed, and I like to see that. But I also look at it and just say, like, well, but he didn't. They were also undisciplined. They also made a ton of mental mistakes. There were some really questionable coaching decisions. And so then you look at it and say, well, does that really save his job or not? And that's what makes it difficult. And again, I don't know the right answer, right? I don't know, I don't know the correct answer to this, but I think that, and this is what we talked about before, right? One of the things that you talked about, and I think what really makes a lot of sense here, and the way to look at it is not, did Gerard Mayo do enough to save his job? That's not the question. The question is, does he bring enough to the table that you want him as your head coach? And again, I look at another game and I just wonder, like, what is he doing to put them in a position to win? Is he making the right decisions at the right moments? Is he calling a timeout when a timeout needs to be called? Is he making, a correct adjustment when an adjustment needs to be made? Is he? And I don't know if he is. I don't know if he is. And so even though you lose a 3-point game on the road to the Bills, who are a far superior team to you, a 14-point spread, which you cover easily, and all of those things, I don't know if this goes any further to making anyone feel good about Gerard Mayo as your coach.
Yeah. Yep. And I just I don't know. The situational play was not good today, and it felt like at points it was more so the first quarter of the game was amazing. That was genuinely good coaching. They made me feel better about basically everything going on with the coaching staff. From that point forward, situational play wasn't good. Like too many turnovers. Same issues they've had defensively, and it was a lot of the Bills doing silly stuff. Like from that point on, it was just like who was going to do the dumber
Who's going to do the
things to get the
stupidest thing?
ball away, and
Right.
it was the Patriots, even though the Bills tried. The Bills had a lot of guys out today. Like this Bills defense hasn't been fantastic. I feel like you probably should have scored a little bit more. You definitely
agree.
shouldn't be turning the ball over the way you did today, which is troubling, albeit not a direct reflection on the coaching staff. I don't think immediately. Like a lot of this is execution, but in big picture, it's not good enough. And like, I don't know. It doesn't move the needle for me. It's very possible this was just you played a Bills team that was hot for the last couple of games, overlooked an inferior opponent a little bit, and happened to get into a close game.
Right.
And I think some of it's also just like a little bit of luck, like the third down stuff. The Patriots were really good on third down today on both sides of the ball, generally speaking, especially compared to last week. They couldn't get off the field last week. They couldn't stay on the field on offense. This week
Right.
was the opposite.
Yep.
So in some ways, maybe that's the only difference between last week and this week is that, one of these games, the Patriots offense was able to, both sides of the ball, you're able to make a couple of those key plays, but that might really only be, 4 or 5 plays in a whole game where you're actually doing better and not something that is attributable to anything other than luck.
Right.
Although
Well,
I do say,
yeah.
I'm realizing this. I'm kind of speaking out of two sides of my mouth here by saying the situational play wasn't great, but also not giving them credit for being better on third down this week. So,
Yeah.
that part of the situational play was good.
Right. Well, and listen, I don't think that they were altogether terrible. They played an okay game, but this was not a winnable game on paper. It turned into a winnable game. And some of that was because of the decisions that the Patriots made, right? Because of the things that the Patriots did, this became a winnable game, which is great.
Mhm.
Except then you have to go out and win that winnable game. And they weren't able to do that. Right. And that's the hard stuff where you look at it and say, like, man, like we really had a chance to win here. And not that you blew it, but like you weren't able to pull it off. Right. And some of that's a situational coaching, and some of that is the fact that your team isn't as good. I get that. But again, it's frustrating to constantly say, whether it's true or not, it's frustrating to constantly say the talent. Sometimes you got to coach those guys up too. Because guess what? Carolina is a terrible team too. They're an awful roster. They're out there playing significantly better than they were. Right? I mean, shoot, the Raiders won today. They're a terrible team, and they won today.
Yeah.
They have Brock Bowers, which changes things a little bit. But like, they're an awful team, and they won. Now they beat the Jaguars. Guess what? You lost to the Jaguars. So like, it's just it's the way it's the way I look at it is that you haven't gotten that much better. I think Drake May has gotten a little bit better as the year's gone on. I do think AVP's done a pretty good job with him so far. But again, do I wish that there were times when, we like ran him more aggressively and did some more things? Like they did a nice job of that today. Maybe you should have tried that earlier. Like it does feel like, to your point, that like, it's almost been, oh, well, the public wants this, so let's run. And that's happened multiple times this year.
Yeah, which I don't love. That tells me that you don't have a strong internal sense of what you want this to be.
Yeah.
Which is tough. And, the positive is it does show that you're open to hearing criticism and responding, which is a good thing. But it should be internal. What should matter are the voices in the building. My voice doesn't matter. Your voice doesn't matter.
Correct.
Like it's for this stuff. It's who's in the building. So yeah, I don't love that. Yeah, it's a weird spot. Like it's tough to play a game like this where you go on the road and play a team that might well be Super Bowl champs to a 1-score game on the road in that environment. May's first ever cold weather game like this.
Yeah.
And to not feel better about the coaching staff, but I don't know if I do.
Yeah. And I don't know if I can blame you at all for that either.
Yeah. So we'll see. other miscellaneous thing here, which was tough. There were 6 total fumbles in this game. 4 of them recovered by the Bills.
Brutal.
One of those is the what do you call it? The Ramondre play.
Yep.
So that one, I think, the Bills are. That's not fumble luck or anything. Balls.
Correct.
Yeah, but the other one, 5 fumbles, 3 recovered by the Bills. That's tough. Your defense forces 2 fumbles. Jonathan Jones had a really nice play on one of them, and stinks to just not have that pay off. Something happened in the Tennessee game too, where you just ball's not bouncing your way when you need it to. So that's tough. And it's 6 fumbles. It doesn't count as a fumble, but the onside kick at the end was very much loose. That was very much bobbled.
Yeah.
Never hit the ground, so it doesn't count as a fumble, but went off the hands of one Bills player into the hands of another. There's a world where
tough
it
luck,
bounces off the second Bill too, and the Patriots are recovering the ball. Like, it's tough bounces, and that's kind of been the season when the Pats play a lot of these games. How many games could have gone the other way? Like that Seahawks game, you really, really should have won, but you have some really bad luck. Titans game, you probably shouldn't have won. You do get good bounces to force overtime with that last May play, but then you don't get good bounces in overtime. This one, they don't go your way.
Well,
at
again,
all.
and again, I think you make your own luck to a certain extent, right? Obviously, sometimes plays happen and you lose because of a fluke thing or something. At the end of the day, you make your own luck, right?
Yeah.
And you're the better team or you're the more aggressive team or whatever. And again, and I think to your point, right? Even with the aggressiveness of this team, what do you want to be? What are you trying to do? Who you want to be as a team? We don't have an answer to any of those questions. We have no idea the answer to those questions, right? You can look at the Patriots and say, okay, well, the Patriots, they're they want to run the ball and they want to do, okay, fine. But what else? What else are they trying to do? Right. And I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I really don't. And that's concerning to me because I feel like you should know the answer to that question. Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they know the answer to that question. Right. And that's going forward on 4th down and not going forward on another 4th downs. And in that Tennessee game, getting it and then not going for 2 to win the game. And it's just like you just made this incredible play. Like, you have all the momentum, go for 2 and win the game. Like, just do it. And it seems like they're not willing to do those things. And, I don't know. It's frustrating. And other times it feels like they are willing to do those things. So that's frustrating.
Well, and I think it was, they had multiple 4th and shorts in this game today that they didn't go for, but you do have the fake punt in there. It's like, okay, feels like we're being weird about when we want to be aggressive and push the envelope.
Right.
But yeah, I will say, for some context here, I believe this was their 6th 1-score loss of the season.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, in 12 losses. So half of their losses have been 1-score losses. The 2000 Patriots, first year with Bill Belichick, that team had 11 losses. 9 of them were by 1 score.
Yeah.
So you talk about like signal of what could happen. The next year, that team played a lot of close games. Like nearly every single one of them was close. The Patriots team is not doing it to that rate. And it's like, I don't mind a loss like the one that you have today if you are beating the Jaguars and not getting blown out by them. If you're able to beat the Dolphins at home when they don't have Tua. If you're able to, keep a game close against the Jets or keep a game close against the Niners, or if you should beat Seattle in that one, looking back at it.
Right.
You should have won that Colts game. Like I wouldn't mind this record in close games if which games were close. Like the bar or the level should be higher across the board so that you're already winning more. And the closer games are at a higher level of competition and everything, but that's just not where we are.
Yeah,
that Texans game, that's not a great Texans team. They're not unbeatable. They're at your stadium. May had a decent first game. You should not be losing that game by 20 points. That maybe a 10-point loss.
Yep. Yeah, I agree, and that's the frustrating stuff. But anyways, all right. let's get out of here. I do want to mention this, John. I'll just pull John up one more time. Massive game at SMU. He's of course talking about my guy Abdul Carter, who I took at 1-3 last week in our dueling mock draft. I guess it might have been 2 weeks ago now. Micah Parsons 2.0, according to him. He was at the SMU game, unfortunately. Sorry for your loss, John. SMU guy. But the Patriots could use a guy like that. I'll tell you that much. And they won't be drafting him at number 2 overall. But
and that's where they are right now.
That's where they are right now. Could be an interesting situation where they trade out, say the Raiders end up at 6. They could trade out a 6 or trade out a 2, trade back to 6 with the Raiders. And next thing you know, here we are. So we'll see. But that's, this could be something to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways,
2 more games.
2 more games. Almost done with this flipping season. But yeah, that's it. So listen, this week's gonna be a little screwy because of course Christmas is on Wednesday. Matt is gonna be traveling. I think it's probably gonna be just a me show on Thursday night, although I may have a guest. We'll see what happens. Probably just a quick show, previewing the Chargers game and potentially saying, getting some more takes off my chest. And then we'll be back on Saturday night during the Saturday night game, I think. To talk about the Chargers game on Saturday. Of course, the Patriots are playing Saturday at 1:00. It's going to be interesting to see what happens if, and I don't know if we'll talk about this, if the Chiefs lose on Wednesday, assuming the Bills win on Sunday, and they're playing the Jets. They almost certainly will win. If the Chiefs lose on Wednesday, they will be fighting for the number 1 seed that last week. And so the Patriots will be playing at the same time as the Chiefs, which means they'll almost guaranteed be playing at 4:30 on Sunday, which I love. My favorite games are the 4:30 games. Those are my favorite games. If the Chiefs win on Wednesday, they sew up the number 1 seed. The Bills are guaranteed the number 2 seed. It doesn't matter. They don't need anything. They'll probably be playing the Patriots at 1:00 on that last Sunday. So we'll see. But the outcome of that Chiefs game is going to have an impact on that last Patriots home game against the Bills, just timing wise. Yeah. So in all likelihood, right, assuming that the Bills win next Sunday against the Jets. Yeah. So anyways, so that's what we got. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you people, and we'll be back on. I'll be back at least on Thursday, previewing the Los Angeles Chargers game with a head coach that wouldn't mind having on our sidelines, but is what it is. What are you gonna do? So, anyways, thanks for coming out, guys. We appreciate it, and be good to each other, and go Pats, and happy holidays. We'll talk to you guys later.